right. Well, we're back. This is going to be our second episode
of Power Play Podcast.
Power Play Podcast. And today is sort of an odd topic, I feel like, because I never in a million years would have thought that we would have had to do a podcast that's just the topic of our marriage. But that's going to be the topic for today. We're going to go over just our marriage, not because we think we're all that or like important people.
I mean, I think I'm all that.
I know. But for me, that's why it's odd. It's like, why is this even necessary?
I think I've earned the right to say that I
think
am
so.
all that.
I think so. But it feels weird to me to kind of, I don't know, it feels self-important to me, but the fact is, I also never thought that outside of high school, I would have to address like rumors or things about me or just
influencer life
clear
is so
things
fun.
up, even for like our own friends and family or just people who don't care to ask or never got it but want to talk about it anyway, you know?
And we're happy to answer any questions. I mean, I've had to answer a lot of questions, to be honest. A lot of people have sparked some curiosity and tried to reach out about 2 years ago. And I had a lot of pretty uncomfortable conversations with family members. And it seems like over time, people forget the fact that I had the conversation with them and they go back into feeding into the lies and the rumors. So that's why we're here to explain some things about our marriage and our dynamic and to kind of just set the record straight. And so it's coming from our mouths, and it's up to you as an individual if you want to accept our truth as that, or if you choose to still forego into rumors and lies.
Well said.
Thank you.
So I guess we can start by just that kind of covers why we even feel like we need to address it.
Right.
But how would you describe our marriage?
Our marriage has changed. I think anyone that's been together for a long period of time, especially with having children and just kind of the growing pains of getting to know each other on a deeper level. And then we also owned a business together. And unless you have worked with your partner in a business, it's hard for you to understand our dynamic. But the people that have worked together with their partner, I think it's easier for them to understand our dynamic and how things have changed in our relationship and our marriage. I think when we first started our marriage, we were pretty traditional when it came to our dynamic. And Ryan worked full time and I was part time and I was focused on being a mom. And then our relationship kind of changed when we opened Blank Canvas, and then I was leading a whole salon and a group of women, and I got really empowered and I found my confidence through my work, and he gave me permission of freedom. And with that permission of freedom is also terrifying for a man to know that his wife is going to Florida and Australia and all over the map. And I never did anything that was unfaithful in our marriage. So I think it was just constantly showing up that way and answering any questions and not feeling like I needed to hold anything back from him. I'm committed to Ryan. And then, when the salon brought me to win awards and all of these things, and my confidence just grew, then we really wanted to give ourselves permission to see what else was out there and have our own fun outside of just being parents.
I would agree. So I would probably describe our marriage as a team effort, right? Mm-hmm. Let's be real, some married couples are almost like rivals. some married couples are sort of like two, islands in the sea, kind of doing their own thing and come together on some things. I think owning a business together really forced us into a team effort situation.
And we had to rely on each other when we moved here because we didn't have any help. We didn't have anybody else. And so we had to lean in on each other, and that's all we had. But then we had to get to know each other deeper also and really become best friends and be able to communicate and know how to communicate with each other. It's huge.
Right. So around the time, owning the salon really kind of forced, you said it started off in sort of a traditional, whatever you want to say, the traditional roles, and that kind of got inverted, right? So that was
upside down.
That was the start of that. So I would say through that, through your traveling and your education and you just being sort of a leader in that industry, it was on me. We made the decision at some point to let's see how far she can take it, right? If she didn't have some of these other things to deal with and was free to travel as much as humanly possible and just give it all to the beauty industry, how far could you go? Was what we wanted to know. So to answer that question, I stepped back from my job and my career, if you want to call it that. I think we talked about how in the first episode, my career always just consisted of like tech support, customer service, office jobs. Where we're from, Sacramento, California, there's a lot of that kind of thing. I mean, it started off with an Earthlink call center, and it kind of always just evolved out of that. So it wasn't a problem for me to give that up because I didn't feel passionately about it anyway. And I did feel passionately about our kids. I felt like we both came from a situation where real dad was not in the picture, and it kind of affected us, I think, in whatever ways, to the point where when we got our family going, it was very important, right? Like I didn't want our kids to ever feel like dad wasn't there, whether that's from divorce or whether that's from a all-important career or some mission or some big thing that always takes priority. I didn't want to feel like anything was priority over our kids, right? But that being said, I'm a
better worker. It's hard for a mother to say that, but from what I was raised from, there was a lot of things that I had to unlearn about parenting and control and all of these things. So me giving myself permission to focus on work, and Ryan was raised in more of a relaxing, peaceful kind of environment. I knew that him being home was actually the better option in our dynamic because he's way more patient than I am. And I think we just realize, yes, there's society roles, but that doesn't necessarily matter when it comes down to our individual independent relationship. And our roles look a little different, and it doesn't matter if Ryan goes to work or he stays home. I value him being home because I also agree in the importance of a parent being the constant stay-at-home parent that's reliable and always there for anything that they need. And with my career and job, I don't know if a hair appointment's gonna take 2 hours or 5. And it's very difficult to have children and a schedule and be able to deliver to the high max quality that I want to be able to deliver and put a time restraint on anything. And flights get delayed, they get canceled, they get moved, all of this stuff. He's taking me back and forth to the airport, all of this stuff. I need him to be reliable and to be my constant in my life, and he enjoys that role. So why would I deny him of that role just because he's a man and has to appear as a certain role in society to be accepted? It didn't work for us.
Well, and I think that's also part of, you're touching on what makes our marriage work in the first place and why we're attracted to each other, is because neither one of us gives a fuck about that. Neither
Right.
one of us has ever given a fuck what you think or some outside force thinks that we should be doing. We're smart enough and capable enough to figure out for ourselves what we should be doing. I think we can handle it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's sort of an attitude that we both share that's been kind of pervasive for us. And through your travels and going everywhere, educating, I was, whether I liked it or not, and I did like it, forced into a situation where I already felt like I had to share you with the world at large, because there are other people out there besides me who need things from you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
And I have a lot of love to give.
Yeah, and that became very clear to me. So it always felt like just part of our reality that I was going to be sharing you with the whole world in that regard, right? Mm-hmm. I can't just put you in a box. I don't want to do that in the first place. But it's.
I mean, I married you for a reason too,
right.
And I had several relationships before you that did try to enclose me and box me and cage me, and it didn't work. And I didn't marry them for that reason. So it was nice also to know after we moved away and after we had our kids and after we opened the business, he never has changed. And he has the core sense of himself because he did the work before we got together to be confident enough that he didn't give a fuck about what other people thought and still was able to tap into the core part of himself that I never had to sit here and explain and bring him back to the values and who he was when we first met, because it's been the same and constant our whole relationship. And it takes a lot of work as an individual person to be able to get there, but you need to do that work, I think, before you get into a commitment in a relationship with another independent woman, because no independent woman is gonna want to be codependent all the time. There's going to be times where we have to lean in on each other, but then she's gonna want to fly free. And if you don't let her fly free, then she's not going to respect you. And then that's when you become tit for tat. And then you end up being against each other and you no longer are in a partnership with one another.
Right.
You become enemies.
More or less. So through the fact that we own a business together, we have a very close partnership in our marriage, that kind of ties in or might lead into, I guess we can address, the elephant in the room of the fact that you are a hot wife.
Yeah, so I also want to say that I have been sexually active and free and liberated in my sexuality for a long time. Even before Ryan and I got together, I had toys and I had lots of things. I've always known how to take care of myself, if you will. And when Ryan and I first started dating, I know how to lure him in a little bit.
All women know how to lure. They all got the luring part pretty well done, I think.
But I also knew that I had to maintain that. So I knew I had to lead into our relationship in a way that I knew I can stay consistent. And yes, with being a mom and opening a business, some other things become priority during certain times, but I always knew at my core that I led with that. And Ryan likes to watch me play and enjoys seeing me get to my max potential, and we have lots of toys and lots of things. And
I enjoy seeing you enjoy yourself.
Right.
The word that they use is compersion. It sounds like compression, but it's spelled differently. You can look it up if you want. I'm not gonna spell it for you right now, but the word is compersion. And basically what that means is that your joy is my joy in a real way, right? Mm-hmm. So whether it's you up on stage educating, whether it's you having any kind of sexy fun, whatever it is, whether even if it's you having joy from playing with the kids, whatever it is, I deeply enjoy seeing you experience joy, right? That makes me so happy. Like, I love it. So that's kind of where it comes from. But I want to also touch on like what that means, what that doesn't mean, or at least the way we do it.
Right.
So for us, if you hear the term hot wife and you Google it, you might just find all kinds of crazy shit. It's part of what they would call the lifestyle, which is a lifestyle is a word that basically just means a lot of people just use it as a synonym for like swingers or whatever, right? We're not swingers. She has, I guess, the freedom that a female half of a swinger relationship would have. She is able to be attracted to and play with whoever she so chooses, and I'm happy for that. But it's not a swinger situation, so that's not really a word that applies. Another word that really doesn't apply is like cuck or cuckold. Not that there's anything wrong with that. If that's your thing, it's a lot of people's thing. But that word within the lifestyle, as most people understand it, has to do with the man getting off more so on the humiliation of the situation. Now, if you feel like you would be humiliated by that situation, that's on you, right? You have internalized cuck feelings or whatever. I don't. I'm not humiliated by anything that we do. Nothing is done to humiliate me.
But I've always kept respect also in our relationship. I don't hit below the belt. I don't name call you. I don't.
Our fights are,
Right.
as rare as they are actually like productive sessions.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not like,
and most of the
an
time it's
insult
because I'm
fest.
feeling like I'm just not being heard with our kids around. And that's why we get in a fight, because we're overwhelmed with our children sometimes. And then he's prioritizing the kids. And then I feel like I just need to be heard. And then I explode and react to that. And then we de-escalate. The point of us getting into a fight is always to de-escalate and bring us back to a common ground in conversation.
I've always felt like we've learned something or like had a conversation that needed to be had. I've never felt like, well, she just doesn't fucking get it. Fuck her. She doesn't get it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we always come to some sort of growth out of it. So that's why these days it's fairly rare. Like, we've gone through all that. We've been through all that. We had to go through all of that
The growing pains.
to get to the point where it would have even been feasible to broach the subject of lifestyle stuff and things like that. A lot of married couples, I feel like, reach some sort of a point when their kids get to a certain age where they're like, okay, let's try to re-find ourselves. Let's try to get back to what made us those hot lovers in the first place that we love so much. You know, what attracted us? What do we like to do? If we have done the work of raising the kids to this point, which we definitely have, what do we want going forward, right? So that's where a lot of that comes from.
Also, me building myself up through my career has also built up my confidence level. And I also found that I am an exhibitionist and I like being watched. I think as an influencer and anyone that's on stage, you have to get really comfortable in front of the camera. And I edited all my content. I watched myself. I've also lost 90 pounds. And watching myself grow and elevate and build myself up to visually seeing what I like in front of the camera, why would I not want to show the world that when I'm used to performing in front of hundreds of people doing hair and being celebrated that way, that it's like, okay, well, in turn, with being a hot wife, yes, I can also play with other people, but I like the excitement of being watched as well, because then it just kind of intertwined with each other over our time and our experience together.
Yes, I would agree. I would also say, and I'm just going through my little notes here, there's an interesting phenomenon that I've experienced, and I'm sure maybe other married couples can kind of testify to this. The fact that the conversation sometimes is very different when it's us as a couple versus you alone.
Yes.
You alone sometimes are put into situations that would probably never occur, or into conversations or subjects are brought up, or you're treated certain ways that would never happen if I was also there.
Right.
So that's very frustrating.
Right. I think it's just society and people that feel like women are victims to sex. And so they just naturally lead that way into a conversation without actually getting to know who I am. And then are submissive to when Ryan walks in the room. So they want to dominate the conversation with me, put me into a place of being a victim to my husband. And then the second that he walks in the room, they switch. And then all of a sudden, I don't exist and they have to like celebrate him. And I'm like, what?
Well, they want to be respectful when I'm around, but not respectful when you're
not around.
Yeah,
right?
That's absurd to me. I hate that shit. But that kind of also carries us into what it is, what it's not, and
it's like also when Ryan wasn't around. And I had the whole salon and everything going, and we had, everything was great. And then Ryan wouldn't be around, or I'd go and visit family or something. And no one would say this to Ryan's face, but the second they're around me, they're asking me when Ryan's going to get a job. And I'm like, you would never say that to a woman that's staying home supporting her man in the career that's traveling to Australia and Hawaii and Florida and all these places, because I don't not share that. I put that out there. You see how busy I am. Who the hell is watching our kids? My spouse, their dad, my partner.
No one else.
No one else is doing that.
No one else came around to say, hey, let me watch your kids for you while you both work. We didn't actually have that option, which is why we moved here in the first place.
Nor did I want other people to raise our children.
Right. I think it was important to both of us that when we write our story, Dad is there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Dad's in the picture.
So I can't control what other people say, but I can control how I react. And then you don't think that I'm going to go home and tell him the conversation that was had when he wasn't in the room? And then the second that he's around you, you're avoiding even speaking to him, and then wait till he walks out of the room to, pipe in and chip at me. It's very disrespectful.
Well, and that kind of takes us right into the next note that I have down there, which is I never thought I would have to do a podcast episode, even that it'd be relevant or worthwhile talking about it. I also never thought that we would have people outside our family, inside our family, actively trying to sabotage us or talk shit or whatever it is. It's like all of you people could come right to us. If you have questions, if you want to know what's going on, you can come right to us. And speaking for myself, I don't lie. I just don't care. Maybe it's egotism, but I just don't care. I've always been that way. I've always been the way that I would much prefer to sink or swim on the truth of the situation or on my own merits or off who I really am. Like, I'm not going to front to try to please anyone. I'm just going to be me and either be pleased by it or don't. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I don't care. Some people are going to like it. Some people are not, no matter what you do. So it really doesn't matter. So if you have questions, you can just ask. And if you guys have questions, you can post them in the comments. We're happy to answer anything, and we'll do it truthfully because
we are an open book.
Why bother? I just can't bother, honestly. Lying is like just such punk shit to me. It's like so stupid. that it's not worth my time. So, what are some of the, I guess, criticisms or misconceptions, or what's some of the bullshit that we've had come at us as far as our marriage is
Okay,
concerned?
so one of the biggest things is that we have a fan page where we post our not safe for work content on. Ryan and I have always loved to role play and play with each other. And Ryan, as he says, likes to share me with the world. And as I say, I like to have people interact and be able to see our quality of content, because we spend time. I get ready, I get dressed, we do photo shoots, we do, a lot of stuff. And so we created a fan page. I also had a lot of previous relationships before Ryan that were very manipulative and borderline abusive that I was able to get out of. And then after having our children and getting sober, I had to process a lot of that and still not allow those people to have power over me. And so I like to post things because I like to receive positive attention. And so if I lead you to this page, I expect you, because you know what you're getting into, that's what you're going to bring is positivity, not negativity. There's plenty of places on the internet where you can feed into negativity, and I choose not to go to those places. And so if you choose to click on the link to go to the Not Safe for Work page, you're opening that curtain. Okay? So don't be mad once you click on the link and you open the curtain, what you see. Okay?
Yeah, and I always say too, so we've experienced through this, so it really started, the genesis of it was sort of with her traveling a lot, being so into her career, and me being home with the kids. We needed to reconnect when she would come home. So as she's out traveling around, maybe I would, off Amazon, get like a little sexy outfit. And then when she would come home, she gets all done up, puts on the outfit, and we celebrate her return. You know what I mean? I think that's a cool way to describe it.
We like to have fun.
Yeah, we like to have fun. We've always been into, like you said, role play, but even more so just sort of dressing up and celebrating your beauty, right? In all phases, like 90 pounds ago, pregnant, whatever, right? Every phase of the marriage, this is my supermodel. That's how I've always felt. So through that sort of naturally led to us over years having a closet full of naughty outfits, right? And then at some point, we just kind of decided you have a nice camera for work and hair-related photos and whatnot. So we're sitting there and we're looking, closet full of naughty outfits, nice camera. Maybe let's put these two things together.
And
right?
then we had a whole studio downstairs that you were able to build while I was away. And I would come home and see all of this work that he was doing while the kids were at school and stuff. And I wanted to celebrate his hard work, and he wanted to celebrate my hard work. And we just worked together like we've worked together with owning a salon as well. And I'm an entrepreneur. And I do women's hair that also are into the kink and all sharing and have their own pages. And I've celebrated those women, and they've been able to pay for their hair doing stuff like that. So I don't judge people. I don't judge women. I think if there's a means to an end and you need to make money, girl, you go do it.
Well, and also, while we're talking about what it is and what it's not, that's a good description of what it is. What it's not is some sort of situation where, like, and God, what all shit have we heard? I've got you on drugs. Okay, that's absurd. That's so retarded.
Right.
People make up the wildest shit to justify in their minds why this must be going on, because if we have the same insecurities and hangups that those people do, and those people consider themselves normal or whatever, how could it be possible? And it's just mind-blowing. It's like, well, maybe I don't know, man, maybe we're not like you, or maybe we don't have the hang-ups that you have, or maybe we're more secure than you are, if you could believe that. But one thing that's not going on is that there's any kind of drugs or
He's
coercion.
not holding me against my will.
Yeah, didn't someone ask you if you felt like you had Stockholm syndrome?
Right.
Which is so fucking insulting to say about someone's marriage.
Yeah, I have Stockholm syndrome, and I've gone to Australia and all these places. He's really entrapping me.
I've kidnapped you.
Yes.
In some way, and now you're reacting by trying to. That's what Stockholm syndrome is sometimes when terrorists.
I didn't even know what it meant. I had to Google it.
Sometimes
like,
when
what?
terrorists take hostages, the hostages, out of a sense of self-preservation, feel like their best play is to try and make friends with the terrorists, right? If I make friends with this guy who's holding me hostage, maybe he won't kill me at the end of this, or you know what I mean? But that's obviously so fucking insulting to put on somebody's marriage that it's like blows my mind. So I don't know where that comes from. Again, I can only imagine it's some sort of sense of projection that they themselves would never feel secure enough to do what we do, and so therefore,
which is fine.
It's fine.
Then don't.
I'm not coming to you berating you for whatever your sense of security is, or whatever your marriage is like, or anything like that. I don't talk about other people's marriages. I don't care. But for you to have to deal with that was very frustrating.
Right, and it was a very close person to me that I was also in the womb with that decided to click on the link before I went out to California, after I went out to Australia, and this person subscribed not only to the page, but subscribed using my ex-boyfriend's name to subscribe to the page on. So psychologically, she knew exactly what she was doing. And then I went out to California to call all of their bluff. And not one person while I was there brought up the page. Not one person, but I saw who knew about it. Your eyes tell me everything that I need to know, okay? And so I knew who knew, but why would I bring up my page to people that I know wouldn't understand it? Especially when I'm there by myself and I don't have him there to also advocate for me. If anything, that's a hostage situation, if you ask me. So,
well, what I always ask people too is here's a simple way to think of it. If you found out your parents had an OnlyFans page, would you go on it?
No.
Would you click on it and look at it? I sure as fuck would not.
No.
I'd be like, hey, that's great for you guys. Glad you guys are doing your thing. I'll never check that out. But for some reason, something about us, I don't know, people became so curious that even after the fact, even after saying, hey, don't go on the page, okay? They would still continue to go on the page because I guess, you know, sexual issues or sexuality, it makes people so prurient in that way that some people are just weak and can't control themselves when they should.
Right. You are the only person that gives yourself permission to and not to. Okay? There's an angel and a devil on your shoulder. We learn this as children, right? And you can choose to not click on the link, or you can choose to. And then you can't control another individual after you choose to dive in and see what you're going to be exposed to. Don't get mad. So then I go out and I be around the family. No one brings it up. No one talks about it. And then the second that I fly home that night, someone gets mad because of the conversation that we had on the way to the airport, that I said, no one asked me about Australia. No one asked me about the salon closing. All of you care about yourselves, and that's fine. I know my place in your life. Thank you for exposing that. I'll just go to my happy place now, and I know exactly where I align in your life. And that's fine. No one needs to feel bad about it. I don't care. It's fine at this point. But then don't get mad that I have my own independence. I've worked really hard to be here. Okay? And if you aren't happy in your situation, then it's time for you to then refocus and sit there and reanalyze your life and what makes you not fulfilled and unhappy in your life. So then I received text messages the next morning from family members telling me that I need to go get help. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? What conversation was had when I wasn't there? That's so weird. I was there for 4 days and 3 nights. No one said I needed help then. No one didn't care about not feeding me alcohol then. So then I messaged the person that I thought was responsible, and then a mission came, and she admitted to showing everybody like she was Jesus at the round table, and exposing, our not safe for work page and basically distributing things without my consent.
Yeah, to me, that's the real sicko thing to do is, first off, if you don't agree with it, that's fine. You should probably keep it to yourself anyway. But to the extent that you can't handle it, why the fuck would you go onto her page, grab whatever's the latest update, and then blast it out to like a family group chat? They don't want to fucking see that, but you're not even giving them the opportunity to like avoid it now. It's got to be some part, it's like part of your thing now. It's part of your storyline now, which is just weird. Just leave it alone. Who cares? If it's not for you, who cares? So I'm going over my bullet points here. I've got, what did we hear? We're some kind of cocaine dealers or something like that?
Nope, I've never done cocaine
in your life.
I know, it's crazy. I'm just naturally this way.
I haven't for probably 30 years, okay? I don't know if you've ever seen a graph of like what your blood pressure does on cocaine, but if I did cocaine at my age, I'd probably just have a stroke instantly.
Please don't. I need you around. Thank you.
I don't need it. There's nothing in my life where that's so old. That's just such a rumor, a weird, so you hear these things and you're like, it's like, do I look like I'm doing fucking cocaine?
And way to dismiss.
Come on, I look like I'm doing burritos, if anything.
I like to feed you. Way to dismiss like all the hard work that I also did.
Right, I think that's probably where it came from, was you had weight loss, right? Yeah. Which came from a combination of things.
I went gluten-free.
You went gluten-free.
And I cut alcohol out of my diet.
You cut out alcohol. You were drinking probably close to 10 to 15 bottles of wine a week.
Yeah.
You would get boxes of wine, and that was like your unwind, right? You travel, you do all this stuff. It's a lot. Being an influencer, being an educator, being a business owner, being a mom, being a wife, you have to, all these hats you have to wear, and wine just kind of greased the gears, right? It was lubricant for the gears.
Turns my brain off.
Right. That was your sort of fun time or recovery time or whatever. Relaxing time, right? But it was pretty excessive at some point, and it did kind of cause, like, sometimes it would cause arguments that didn't need to happen at all, that were just about nothing or whatever. But it didn't really push for you to give that up. But I'll also mention that in 2017, 18, you got breast augmentation.
Right.
Right? After kids, having big boobs and all, we went that route. It didn't work out. It was...
I have an autoimmune disease, and... with putting a foreign object in my body, this isn't for everybody, but for me, my body did not react well to having breast implants. And so I, after only about 2 years, said, this isn't working. we have to get these out, whatever we need to do to get these out, because I was struggling, not only physically, but mentally, and then working behind the chair and carrying this and having already back issues and problems. It was just a recipe for disaster. And I need to work. I have to work. And so I just wanted them out. And so then we had to go through the process of then looking for a doctor that also believes in breast implant illness. You can't just remove the implant, because there's the pocket and the capsule around the implant that then is exposed to the toxins from the implant if you have the autoimmune disease. And so you have to remove the pocket. And so I had to then go to a specialist, and that was also expensive. So I had to then also deal with the fact, not only as a mother, I was trying to bring myself back into my confidence of taking my body back after breastfeeding and doing all of the things that you do as becoming a new mom. But then also I knew I had to then remove them and then go to the proper doctor to give myself the chance to fully feel healthy again.
So there were many things that contributed to the weight loss, none of which was any kind of cocaine or drugs or any...
I didn't do Ozempic.
Ozempic, yeah, I was searching for the name of these things.
Right.
I've been there the whole time. It's a combination of factors: cutting out gluten from the diet, getting your fake boobs taken out. The whole time you had your fake boobs, you were always sort of swollen and fighting whatever was going on with your immune system, I felt like, right? Mm-hmm. And it started kind of small and then kind of got worse and worse and worse to the point where you just said, I got to get these things out. Plus these other lifestyle changes, to the outsider looking in, it might just look like there was sudden weight loss. But if you have big, huge boobs and you get those out, that alone makes you look thinner, period.
Right.
Right? Plus you add these other more healthy options that you're doing, cutting out wine, getting back to the gym, stop smoking, all these things, cutting out a lot of business-related stress.
Yes.
That was weighing on you quite heavily.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those things were a factor. So that kind of checks off that. So what else?
So then after that, while I was traveling, because I'm still doing hair after 2 years ago when I went out to California, and I'm still working and I'm traveling for hair stuff, I had then family members going on publicly commenting, why are you here? Who are you here with? What are you doing? And I was like, wow, right, why are you acting like my life has suddenly changed when this has been our life this whole time? And it's because of this outside influence over here coming in and chirping and being a bird into these people's ears and changing our story.
Right, that's actually my next little bullet point that I have on here underneath cocaine. I have prostitution.
Or escorting.
Or escorting, yeah, prostitution or escorting. So that was never, that's obviously
Which I don't see a problem with that at all.
If that's your thing, yeah.
Right.
I don't give a shit.
Once again, maybe you should talk to us.
But that was something that we kind of had to deal with too, was people's like bizarre fantasies that they had about what was going on, to the point where it's like, if you're traveling all here and there for education purposes in the hair world, it's like, I don't know, people like to put other things on it or act like there's some kind of escort thing going on. That's horseshit. Like, a hot wife is not an escort. It's not a pimp prostitute situation. I have no real control. I mean, I have the power of veto if I don't like something, but that's never really come up. And you have complete control over who you play with, and it's never
hard for
money.
him to tell me no. You really have to, like...
It's hard for me, I'll say this, it's hard for me to want to tell her no, right? Yeah. If I need to and I feel like I have to, that's not a problem for me, right? Like, I'm not a bitch in the relationship, but at the same time, I enjoy your joy, like I said. So what do I have to say no about? What are you
Right.
trying to do that I would need to say no
Well,
about?
and I'm always like, I'm a why person. If you're going to tell me no, I want to know why. And then can we talk about it? And like, where's that insecurity coming from? And I've done nothing to stem that insecurity. So what's that really about? And then we dissect it, and then we get down to the root issue problem of it. Like this, we've been together for 15 years.
Right. So I think getting back to the hot wife thing, I think in order for any couple to go there, and if you ever listen to any lifestyle podcasts, the communication has to be next level in your marriage, right? The trust has to be next level. Everything has to be really firing on all cylinders for that to even be an option, right? It's really only for secure couples with great communication, which we are, which is why it works. But it's not a situation where I'm dictating to you what's going to happen. Some hot wife couples may operate that way, and some lifestyle couples may operate that way, and some vanilla marriages may operate that way, you know, but that's not how our thing has ever been. So
I'm not a victim to my circumstance, nor am I ever a victim to my experience. I know if I place myself somewhere and it's a new experience, I have the power of my voice, and no is a complete sentence.
Right. We don't do anything that would take away your agency over yourself or your independent thoughts and, you know what I mean? Control over your own self and your own body. Everything, it's also, I'll address this too. It also doesn't come from any sort of place of lacking anything, right? You've had people kind of inquire about that too, right? Like, well, is this because your husband can't satisfy you? And it's like, no, it has to do with the fact that, again, everything has to be secure and good for this to even be an option in the first place. If I couldn't satisfy her sexually and then she's going off and getting this from other guys, some hot wife couples, it revolves around that, or some cuckolding couples, they want to hear that. They want to hear how the other lover is so much better and all this stuff. But that's not a part of our situation, and we never came at it. I always say it's not from a lack of anything, it's from an abundance. It's from wanting to have an abundance of the stuff that we like, and so why not? You know what I mean?
I always say we have the whole Sunday. We have the whole Sunday that we've built up over our time, and it's amazing and enjoyable Sunday. But why would I not want an extra cherry on that Sunday? And that's what our lifestyle is the extra cherries that I get to put on our Sunday.
And it's a cherry for me too. You know, I've had to deal with these conversations from other guys and other things where it's like, again, it's a lot of projection and it's a lot of you putting yourself into the shoes or whatever, but it's like, even women ask, like, when they understand that, like, she can play with whoever she wants, but I just play with her, right? Mm-hmm. People say, the first thing people always say, just like my whole life, the first question has always been, how tall are you? The first thing people always say when they find out our dynamic is like, so you don't get anything? Talking to me, and I have to say,
oh, he gets a lot.
I have to say, you don't understand my fetish if you don't think I'm getting what I want out of this. You know what I mean?
Right.
I get a lot, and I get a lot. My plate is full. You know what I'm saying? I get a lot from her, whether we're hot wifing or not. I get a lot. I mean, we already explained the dress up thing. Like, we have a very, very healthy sex life. So it doesn't come from a lack of anything. It doesn't come from her cucking me. It doesn't come from anything like that. I don't feel like I'm like I don't want to play with other people, but beyond that, it started really as my fetish, and you have to bring that to your spouse and say, hey, is this something you'd be interested in? And almost across the board, almost every time if a husband approaches their wife and say like, hey, would you be interested in fucking another guy? The automatic first response that the woman thinks is, this is a trap, or this is a setup, right? Okay, so let me get this straight. I'm gonna say sure, and then I'm gonna fuck some other guy, and then you're gonna come to me and say, well, now that you fucked some other guy, I think it's only fair that I should get to do the same thing, right? But that was never where it was coming from with me. It wasn't, so we had to talk through that. We had to get past that insecurity. We had to go through the whole thing. So, I don't know, that's kind of how it started, was me bringing that to you and said, could you ever see yourself doing anything like that? And would that turn you on? It would turn me on, but you are under no obligation to do whatever turns me on. You know what I mean? That's also not how our marriage works. So
I like to turn him on as his wife. I work
Thank you, baby.
I work very hard, so then I also have the confidence to know and not have insecurities in our marriage, to feel good about myself, that I want to be that person for him.
So neither of us is just people pleasing the other one, and that's the reason why we sort of arrived at this dynamic, right? Like, we could be swingers, or we could be lots of different stuff. We could have a traditional monogamous relationship. I would be happy with that for the rest of my life. I get great loving from my wife, and I could definitely be pleased with that. But again, it's from an abundance that we'd like to have, right? So it comes from that, and it doesn't
Also, I'm not luring anyone outside of their own free will. That was
Right.
also projected onto me. Like, I was luring people in, and then people like to throw in my face that I'm a mother. Yeah, so.
right. That doesn't
And
have anything to do
so-
with anything, really.
So you should just dry up and die because you're a mom? What?
Well, also, think about it from the perspective of a child who grows up and becomes, let's say they're 20 years old, and they're having a conversation with their older parent, and the parent says, well, there was a lot of kinky stuff your dad and I wanted to do, but we had you, so we just couldn't even do that. We couldn't go there.
Oh, am I supposed to
think
hold on
that's
to the
sad.
guilt?
No, that's like pathetic to me. Like, what kind of a kid, you're going to put the guilt onto your kid that you're not having the kinky sex that you want to have or whatever? That's sad to me. And I know that we know of, older couples who are getting towards the end of their run, and they're full of regrets like that. They're like, man, we should have done some kind of swinging
They
thing.
don't
That would've
have
been-
to. They don't have
You don't have
to.
to do
We
anything.
go to a club and we see 60 and 70-year-olds there.
Right.
At
It
the
doesn't have to
club.
stop you, but I think it's just, they just have arrived at that place where they can't, the ship has sailed or whatever. So that's also sad to me. Why do that? Having
I don't
kids
want
is
my
neither here
ship
nor
to
there.
sell at 60 and 70. If you ask me, I want to be going on cruises with you and going places and
Yeah,
having
absolutely.
fun when we're 60 and 70. I think that's what your joy of life should be.
I'll also say the next kind of bullet point is that it doesn't come from a kind of like whatever you want to say. Before I even touch on that, I'll close the last bit by saying we're both getting what we want out of the situation. It's not her kink to watch me with another person, so therefore, why would I want to do that? Right? I don't want to engage in some kind of behavior that's antithetical to what turns her on. That's not what I'm in it for, right? So the reason why we landed at this dynamic is because it works for each one of us.
And I had to be real in telling him that also. I don't want to see you doing that. I don't want to see you be cooked and be in that submissive type of role. And he said, good, because I don't want that either. And then that was the conversation. But I had to go deep internally with myself when he presented this to me to know what I say is fact and boundaries. And I'm not willing to see you in that position, nor would it do anything for me.
Which is fine. That's how most people feel, I feel like. You know what I mean? So I can't fault you for the normal feelings that you possess. That's fine, and that's who you are. So you got to accept people where they're at, right? And you got to accept them for who they are. That's not something that turns her on, so it's not a part of our lifestyle stuff, right? So I think that's kind of the summary of what's going on there.
Right.
Right.
And everyone's dynamic is different. And anytime I approach anybody, my first question always is what's your dynamic? I want to receive and respect another couple based off of their dynamic, and I never want to project what our dynamic is onto other people.
In the lifestyle, dynamic is sort of a word that encompasses a lot of things. It's just like a shorthand for like,
what's your play?
How does your lifestyle arrangement work? What are the rules? Who does what? There's certain themes that are more common than others. So sometimes it's just easier to say our dynamic is this, right? So that's kind of what that word means in the lifestyle. And then the only other things I really have on here that we thought we might touch on is other rumors about our marriage or whatever have to do with like, I guess, and the salon had a lot to do with this too, like who we are politically, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
It's not really a thing for me. I'm not very much into that.
Well, first I would like to say and remind everyone that we're not from Utah. We
Correct.
weren't raised LDS. We weren't, a part of that religion. We didn't have to be expedited or whatever. Excommunicated or out of the church and the things that people have to go through. I understand because of conversations that I've had here for 10 years, that's very difficult for people.
One thing that I've learned from living in Utah, it seems, and this is just my observation, and I guess I get it, but it doesn't apply to us. I feel like a lot of people here can be divided into two groups. It's either the religious people who are, first thing that comes to mind when you think of Utah, or it's like a hardcore reaction to that. Like everyone's either a Mormon or some weird anti-Mormon reactionary. And it's like, aren't there any just normal people? Where we're from, Sacramento area, I feel like it was like both were like a non-issue, right?
Well, it wasn't even a conversation.
It was hardly a conversation. It just wasn't. It's like just a normal person who doesn't, and like don't feel strongly really either way.
And it was interesting when we first moved here, the conversation had completely changed because in California, I was taught it's just not good business to bring up sex, religion, and politics with your client. And then I moved to Utah, and those are the first three things that people want to know about you instantly while they're sitting in your chair. So for me, I've always been an open book. And with being a business owner and everything that we had to go through with COVID and then seeing how much the government actually didn't support small businesses, but that's a whole nother conversation during that time. I was very opinionated about what was going on politically. And I like to dabble into either side of politics. I think, and I like to say we're independent because I like to be a broad range. I like to be educated on all things.
And I think it goes back to what we said in the very beginning too, of just who we are as people. Is we are kind of independent-minded people. Like
right.
I reserve the right to make my own decision about everything, about every issue that's out there. Like I'll make my own decision, and I don't care what the prescribed reaction is. I can go against that if I feel like it. I'm my own person, and I don't have to subscribe to any particular belief. I can actually, a la carte, pick and choose whatever works for me. And that's my politics, right? So I don't care who you marry. I don't care if you want to have an abortion. All that stuff is like personal stuff. I guess the easiest way to say it is like both of us feel like the individual is the highest form form, right? It's the individual is above the collective, in my mind. If you feel differently, that's great. But for me, as an individual and as like an independent-minded person, I'm always going to value the individual over the collective. Collective is whether it's church or whether it's being part of some other kind of political movement that relies on a collective, you're selling yourself out to a group who maybe some of them are cool, maybe some of them are idiots. I have a saying about groups of people, and this applies to every group of people you could possibly think of. A race of people, a religion of people, cops, janitors, teachers, nurses, whatever you want to say. Any group of people, it goes like this. Some of them are cool. Some of them are fucking assholes. Some of them will rob you. Some of them will give you the shirt off their back and everything in between. And some of them are all of those things at once. So I just have no use for collectivism. I have no use for group thought. I'm going to always stand on my own. And I guess just from physical perspective, I've always been big enough that I can choose whatever I want and let anybody suck a lemon who don't like it. You know what I mean? That's just how I am. So
we're open for conversation as well. We actually like enjoy it. We love to combat. You can disagree with us, but you're not going to sit there and try to control us and then morph us into whatever is better for you to be digestible of us.
I love to have my mind changed, but
we can't change our
but
mind.
only sincerely and authentically, right? Like if someone's able to engage with me and change my mind on something, I find that so cool and interesting.
We'll respect the hell out of it,
right? Like that's really cool. But I'm never going to pretend anything or act like I agree with something if it's not my real feelings, you know. So that's just kind of where we come from with that, and I think we don't have
I think that's a good enough.
very much else, right?
Yeah.
So that's
I think
pretty
that
much
covers
it.
all bases. I mean, we didn't vote, you know, with the salon that, you know, wanted to say whatever they wanted to say about us. We didn't vote because we live in a place where our vote didn't really matter. If you understand and are educated, there's such thing as an electoral college, and that takes precedent in certain states, and we're in a state that already is pretty much determined what it's going to be.
Right. So I don't know. That's kind of neither here nor there, but hopefully it gives you an idea of just kind of like who we are as people, and
Hopefully independent rises more.
Well, I think artists are more inclined to that, right? If you're an artist, why would you? That's very Soviet, you know. That's to have your art be subject to the party line or even the church, right? Think about between those two things. Like think about how much censorship there is and how much art. If you remember that old video from YouTube from like 15 years ago, where the guy's like, la 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 la. Oh, if you remember that guy, that came out of the Soviet Union, where the guy just wanted to write a song about like going over the mountain to see his best girl or whatever. And the Soviets thought like, that's got hidden messages. And they're so paranoid, they made the guy cut all the words out, all the lyrics out, and have that. And then you can go back to whatever the church, you know, has done over the years.
Right. Once again, we
Galileo,
weren't raised
all that
here.
stuff.
We're not church like goers. I've always been independent. I did go and baptize myself my junior year of high school, but then I saw what the church demanded after that, and I was already wanting to go to beauty school and working, and I had a boyfriend at the time, and I value my time, and I like my own independent time, and I feel like I can be my own independent person and still have morals and values without sitting here and being controlled by some, you know, environment or community that sits there and dictates how I'm gonna live. I'm in America. It's a free country. I have free will, and women have fought for a long time for our own independent individual rights. And I like to celebrate myself as an artist, me being the art. And either you understand that or you don't. And it's okay if you don't. Once again, don't click on the button.
But do click on the subscribe button. Get notifications when our new episodes come out. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. I hope it clears up like some of the bullshit or whatever that's out there. And I mean, I'm sure people will still talk their shit because their motivation is something different anyway. But for anyone else who
We
was
don't
curious,
do it for them. We
right,
do it for us.
For anyone else who was curious, I hope it answers some questions. If you have any questions that we didn't address or you're just curious about whatever, comment. We love to do that. Or if you want to comment anything that you want us to maybe touch on in the next episode, let us know. And that'll be it.
Peace.
Thanks.